President Obama is re-emphasizing U.S. support of South Korea a day after that North Korean attack. He sent the aircraft carrier USS George Washington to take part in South Korean military exercises. The president also warning North Korea to stop what he called its provocative actions. We are joined now by former Assistant Secretary of State Christopher Hill. He led the U.S. delegation in the talks aimed at resolving the North Korean nuclear crisis. He's done this negotiating. He knows this area of the world. Ambassador Hill joins us on the phone from Rhode Island. And Mr. Ambassador, if you could map out how difficult a task this is for the Obama administration right now, because they've sort of got to thread some delicate negotiating here, supporting the South Koreans, but then also there's the relationship with China that is in the background here.
Well, that's exactly right. This is a very delicate negotiation. First of all, if the U.S. were to just sort of launch forward and start making statements out of Washington, we would quickly become a little, sideways with the South Koreans, who, after all, live on the Korean Peninsula. So we really do need to be in tight formation. We need to work very closely with Seoul. At the same time, neither the U.S. nor the South Koreans can address this issue without China. So that's another important piece of it. And the Chinese clearly have a problem developing the kind of consensus they need to move ahead with a policy. You know, the closer the issue is to China, and North Korea is nuzzled up there right next to China, the more difficult they have, more problems they have in getting their military, getting their Communist Party to work with their foreign ministry and come up with a consensus policy. So the Chinese are often in these kinds of crises, not very helpful, and so far that seems to be the case in this one.
So what options does the administration have here? They are sending this aircraft carrier to back up the South Koreans, but what else can they do?
Well, first of all, I think it is a good idea to send that aircraft carrier and show that the U.S. alliance really means something. Doesn't just it's not just press statements. It actually means real things happening. Secondly, I think it's been very important for the U.S., as we've been doing, to be in direct contact with the South Koreans. President Obama has spoken with President Lee Myung-bak. But then when that is secure, and I think we're doing a good job with the South Koreans, then I think the real event comes where we have to get Beijing to get off the dime. I mean, this is outrageous behavior. There have been incidents in this maritime area before, but this is the first time that the North Koreans had ranged in on a South Korean island and actually killed civilians on the island. So this has to be addressed, and I think China is probably the key in addressing it.
Very quickly, sir, what's the way to get China to do that?
Well, again, I think the Chinese need to understand that, as they sort of grapple with the issue of, what their future interests are, like in dealing with the U.S. and dealing with the world, and what their past interests have been, that is coddling North Korea, that they will come to the conclusion that that their relationship with the United States is more important than their relationship with the North Koreans. By the way, I would add that one thing I would not try to do is have some separate U.S.-North Korean track, which would only sort of get the Chinese off the hook and, secondly, undermine our South Korean allies.
A departure there from the advice of former President Jimmy Carter. Well, Ambassador Chris Hill, Denver University Dean, thank you so much for joining us on the Inside Track.